good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is for you. I am Chauncey, one half of the Millennial Mindset podcast, and today I am coming to y'all somewhat live with a small book review on this book I read, listened to because I be doing audiobooks called Cashflow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. And this book really just kind of helped me open my mind more to the overall general financial landscape and kind of where I fall in it. And I just highly recommend y'all give it a nice little read. Also, a quick little side note, I don't have a physical copy of the book, and I generally don't tend to get many physical copies of books anymore because I found this little website where you can get ebooks and PDFs for free called Library Genesis. So if y'all trying to read more but y'all ain't trying to spend hella money in the bookstore, go to that site and just stack up like I've been doing. Basically, this book focuses on these 4 quadrants that everyone is kind of broken into. So just imagine like a little square with 4 separate equal sections. And on the left side of that square, you're going to have 2 different quadrants. One of the quadrants is going to be the employed quadrant, and the other one's going to be the self-employed quadrants. Now, based on the name, you can pretty much figure out who makes up these 2 quadrants, right? And they're either employed people, they're employed by a business, self-employed people, they're employed by themselves, basically. And now, on the other side of the box, the right side of you'll have 2 other quadrants, the investment quadrant and the business quadrant. And the difference between the business quadrant itself and the self-employment quadrant itself, because both of them are businesses owned by the people in them. The business on the business side, the businesses can run without an owner. So they don't necessarily have to be present for it to still operate, basically. But on the other side, the self-employed quadrant, if you're not there, no money's being made whatsoever. So that's just kind of how to differentiate the two, because both of them you still have a business either way. Now, I do want to preface everything though by saying that it is possible to be extremely wealthy in any other quadrant. So no quadrant is really better than the other. It's just the methods of getting income are what differs in each of the quadrants. Okay, so to get into the quadrants a little bit, a key difference of each of the quadrants is that the people in each of the quadrants each have different values. And to kind of mention a few, I'm not going to mention all of them, this isn't going to be an all-inclusive list, but just to kind of mention a few to give you an idea. For individuals in the E quadrant, they tend to value things like security over how much money they make. Risk is one of the things that individuals in that quadrant tend to really think about and try to avoid. For individuals in the S quadrant, these individuals, not the S quadrant, the self-employed quadrant, these individuals value independence, right? So they prefer to be the ones in charge, the one calling the shots, not having to really answer to anybody, this, that, and the third. They feel like they can do it. For individuals in the business quadrant, these individuals value other people, because having that solid team around you makes it to where they don't have to necessarily do all the work themselves. They can delegate to all these other individuals, and their business is still gonna run. And they just kind of want to bring out the best in those people. They want to have such a strong team around them. And then for the I quadrant, the investment quadrant, these individuals, they tend to value money. More specifically though, how their money can end up making them more money. Because they're just constantly investing in something, is giving a return, then they invest that return money into another investment, and the cycle just keeps going, and they just keep compounding and compounding. After kind of reading through all of the little differences of each of the quadrants though, it really did help me kind of figure out where I fall fall and where I kind of want to end up in the future. Because right now I'm in the employed, trying to sort of kind of starting to try to work into the self-employed quadrants, but eventually, I would like to really be heavily into the business and the investment quadrants, just because how I want my life to turn out at the end of the day. Okay, so one last thing that I did kind of want to point out is in the book, when I was reading, he really distinguished the left side of the quadrant and the right side of the quadrant. And he kind of did this due to the fact that one side tends to have more time to dedicate to the things that they value than the other. And I mean, as you may be able to guess, this side is the right side, the business and investment quadrants. And the reason why this is the case is due to the fact that individuals on the opposite side of the quadrant, they have to trade time for money. So even though both individuals can be very, very successful, very, very wealthy, this, that, and the third, one side has to invest a lot more constant time into it, while the other side, they can invest more time into the things they care about, because their stuff is just working, it's just working in the background anyway. But with that being said, though, because that might just make it seem like the right side is just where it's at in general, but it has its issues too. And one of the main ones that I kind of want to point out is on that side there tends to be a lot more risk. So if something goes wrong, you can lose a lot more on that side versus working on, being in the employed or self-employed quadrants. There's a lot more security, a lot more stability, and that's just kind of how you gotta do. You gotta play the game. If you really want to try to make it big, you gotta risk big to make big. And if you kind of want to play it a bit more on the safe side, then you just play it like that. But with those things being said, this isn't an all-inclusive book review by any means, but those are some of the. I kind of wanted to try to condense it into the main points that I feel like you would kind of get out of the book, and at least some of the main things that I got out of the book were what I just mentioned prior. So y'all really, really, really should check that book out. If anything, it's just a really good starting point to kind of start to get into the financial world, get a better understanding of the financial landscape, I should probably say. And when you know money, it becomes a lot easier to make money and to manage money. So by all means, please, please, please read that book. Read it. Cashflow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. You could really, really read all his books, but that's a good one right there. But with that being said, this has been another episode of the Millennial Mindset Podcast book review. I am Chauncey, one of your hosts, and I hope y'all have a blessed and positive day, night, or whenever y'all are watching this.